So keep in mind that these options that I'm giving you, I've tried to keep them pretty basic and generic because, again, I don't know what specific situation you guys are dealing with, but I wanted to give you guys information that would be almost across the board beneficial for everybody. And these are things that I have done when I stepped into a new class. So for those of you that don't know, I teach and run an inclusive and adapted dance program. So I've taken my program into the school district here in Surrey for the past 3 years, I believe. This year would have been the 4th year, but COVID happened, so we didn't really get to start it. But it's been for the past 3 years, and we've gotten a lot of interest. But in each of the classes that I go into, I get a list of names. If I'm lucky, I'm able to get a rough idea of abilities of my students, but I kind of go in blind, and by the end of 8 weeks, every single one of my student has improved at some point. And that's 8 45 to 1 hour sessions, which if you think about it is not a lot of time, but the way I'm able to connect with and the way I'm able to approach the situations, I've had teachers, I've had students, I've had parents, I've had EAs come to me and tell me the way that I've approached it is very different, very unique, but also very beneficial for the student. And some of these tips I kind of want to share with you guys because I think that everyone should be able to do this because it's 2020. Let's make a difference. Let's see some change because I want my children and my children's children to not have to, I don't want this to be a thing for forever. I want my children to have the ability to grow up in a fully inclusive and a fully adapted lifestyle where this does not have to constantly be talked about and advocate, because I know that there's not going to be change seen if we don't keep raising our voices, if we don't start spreading our knowledge, because you can't get anywhere if you hold the candle close to you. We need to spread our light, we need to keep sharing it and spreading our experiences, spreading our perspectives, and enlightening people and coming with open minds and open hearts to learn, because that is the only way we are going to make change for these students. So before I rant on any longer, I apologize, but let's get down to the 3 topics. Let's get down to the 3 topics. So number 1 is having clear and simple expectations. This is going to help your students follow your lead and know what to expect out of the day, out of the classroom, out of the activity, whatever it is that you're setting the goal or the boundaries for. But starting your day off and starting your session off with clear expectations every single time is going to allow them to know that this is the precedent and this is the level that you want them to meet you at. And it's not always going to be that they're gonna meet you there right away. Maybe it's oh, I'm gonna see how far I can do. And maybe they show up bit by bit. Maybe you build that relationship bit by bit. But you will see if you're tracking behaviors, if you like doing that, or if you just keep an eye on it, you will see over time that they will meet you. And sometimes you have to change your expectations, and that's okay. But having clear and set and simple expectations for your student is going to help you immensely, and making those clear every single day, every single session. For the first little bit especially, every day, start setting out clear and simple expectations and telling your students, it doesn't have to be lengthy, it doesn't have to be long, but having simple expectations of what you expect in their classroom, what you expect out of that child, or out of your group of children, is going to help you and them, which is huge when you're talking about behaviors. And I say this in quotations because I don't necessarily address it as behaviors, I address it as expressions, because in my experience, most of the students that especially I hear this term behaviors used with participants that are nonverbal, have lower expectations placed on them. I always see them as oh, they have X and Y behaviors. And I always say, That's actually just a way of expression, and it looks different, but yeah. Just think of it as expressions if you can. Like maybe change your mindset instead of saying so-and-so has a really bad behavior or you're being a bad kid. Try and see what they're trying to express, because I want to say almost 85 to 90% of the time, they're trying to express something deep down that they can't otherwise express, or they don't know how to express. So number 2 is setting clear visual time schedules. So this may not work in every situation, but for the most part, setting visual time schedules helps immensely. So I'm a planner, and so I love visual time schedules, and visual learning is my mode of, like, that's where I'm best at. I love it, but it's not for everyone. But I've seen in every situation that I've put in a visual time schedule or of any sort, and it can be as elaborate or as simple as you want it, my students have always benefited from it. Whether they're atypical, whether they're neurotypical, all of my students at whatever level they are, they've always benefited from it because it allows them to see what's coming up, what to expect, and it's also a great piece for having inclusion. So like I was saying, if you're using a time schedule for one kid, why not use it for all the kids? Because that allows the kids to have a talking point with Billy. Oh, Billy uses this. So going through it with the classroom and saying, okay, first we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this. Now the kids have it and they're able to see it. So the kids have their own time schedule, and maybe Billy has a small one that he has on his walker or on his, transfer belt, whatever you wanna have it on. But it takes that stigma of like, oh, that's for Billy, or Billy needs extra support. Well, no, you use it in your classroom. So Billy just has one that he carries around because he likes playing with it, and he does better so that when he transitions, he can see what's coming up next right away. You can remember, so you can help Billy out next time saying, hey Billy, we're going to do this. And it encourages students to have that mindset of like, oh, I do the same thing, or I could benefit from that. And it breaks that stigma of like, oh, that's for them and this is for us. Because kids pick up on that real quick. Like, it is insane how quickly children pick up on this is yours, this is mine, which is normal, but it's about breaking those barriers. And especially in schools, we want to encourage students to be kind, be accepting of diversities, be accepting of differences, whether it's in their friend group, whether it's in their classroom, whether it's in their school. We want to teach these kids, and this is a great way to have that. So visual time schedules are a great learning piece, a great talking piece, and it helps everyone. All of these kids can have turns, but it allows them to be involved and see that there's no differences needed, and that this is just another way of learning. And this is another way of functioning, because everybody functions at a different rate, and that's okay. So yeah, number 2, clear visual time schedules. Okay, so number 3 is my ultimate favorite. It is something that I have prided myself in because I've done it so many times with our family, but it is to do a child introduction. So this might come as an initiative from parents, but if parents don't do it, sometimes parents are shy, but asking parents to do it is a great thing, teachers, because it helps break the stigma and it helps open up a line of conversation. So child introductions for kids like Angie who have diversities and may come with questions, may come with, what ifs and genuine heartfelt kid questions, they never really have an opportunity. Students don't have the opportunity to always ask said questions, and sometimes students don't want to be rude, they don't want to be mean, because I know for a fact a lot of adults feel like they can't ask questions, and this is a great way to open that conversation. So what we have done as a family is create a mini slideshow that talks all about Angie. So I'm gonna give our most recent one. We did it for Ange when she was just transitioning into high school with her current high school in grade 8. And I was absolutely blown away by the interest and the engagement of students. And the reason I say this is because I genuinely thought, and this was on me, this was a predisposition I had put on myself, on the students, which I shouldn't have, but I was so thankful that I was blown away by how they reacted, because I went in and I did the presentation that basically talked about Angelina's diagnosis, what it affects, why she does certain things the way she does, and how they can, you know, interact with her, how it could look, and I opened it up to discussion after we had done an activity. So the activity that I had given them is I brought in an extra, like, just regular wheelchair that we had, and I picked 3 random students who were very sweet students that were true birds, and these three students had come up, and I'd taken them outside the class and I'd given them 3 different emotions. But the catch was, I told them they had to act it out on the wheelchair. They were not allowed to use words, and because this was like, I think this was like 2 or 3 months into school, they had already seen Angie, they kind of knew what Angie does and how she kind of moves and acts. And so I told them, I was like, okay, you're not allowed to do anything that Angie wouldn't do. So you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to get out of the chair unless you have help. And I was like, okay, here you go, you're gonna act it out. And I got the students, the rest of the students were there, and they had to guess what emotion or what state of being that these students were expressing. So the first one was easy. They were like, oh, excited, yeah, we know that one. And the second one came, and the third one came. And I asked the students who were acting, I was like, how did you guys feel? And the kids who had the harder ones were like, it was really hard. Like, I don't know how Angie does that. It gave them a perspective shift, because they had never seen it in a way, they'd never been put in Angie's position, and so they never knew why she was expressing things in that way. And the rest of the students were like, oh, we had a hard time guessing it, because it could have been so many things. And so that light bulb went off in their students, and they were like, oh wow, this is why she may be doing this. And since then, like, there has been changes, which is wonderful to see students take initiative and, you know, genuinely care for Ange, or like go up to her and approach her. And I think it's one of those things where it's a constant thing that we have to keep encouraging students, especially as they get older, because if you've not been exposed to it when you're young, it is a lot harder when you're jumping into it as a teenager or an adult, and, you know, it looks daunting or sounds scary. But the last thing I wanted to say was that all of these students had such wonderful, genuine questions. Like, they had asked about dating, which I've never been asked about Angie's dating life until that point, and I was like, big sister in me says no, but the inclusive part of me says yes, she will have a boyfriend at some point, but Mama Bear in me says no. But it was really sweet to see them, you know, question like, oh, how does Angie do this? Or why does Angie do this? And it opened a level of discussion and education that these students never had the opportunity before, because they didn't want to seem rude or inconsiderate or mean, or they just simply weren't aware. So you can even do this as a transition from elementary to high school, or middle school to high school. I don't know what it is. I went to a Christian private school for the most part of my life, so we had all 3, but I think it's like elementary to high school, or middle school to high school, whatever. Anywho, if you're transitioning from one school to another, or you want the teachers to know your child better, asking for the teachers to come in for like even a half an hour presentation and get a sweet little like booklet, or like a little page, a little how-to of your child. It's super cute, it's super friendly. Teachers can take that, put it in their drawer, their desk, wherever they want, but it's a great reference point for teachers to have, like, oh yeah, Ange likes this, this, and this. Let me see how I can include that. But it also allows an open discussion for teachers, because I don't think anyone comes off wanting to be harmful or rude or mean, but there are levels of conversations that need to happen, because there's a lot of people that just don't know but want to know, and I think a lot of people are scared as well to ask questions. So parents, if you're there, please try and take some initiative or reach out. Maybe if you don't like presentations, maybe ask, you know, your other older siblings or a family friend, or heck, DM me. If you're local to Surrey or Vancouver or BC, like, DM me. I will come and do it for your child, because I don't want a child not included because people didn't know. I would hate to see that opportunity wasted and lost. So yes, it is a great thing. It's a great tool that I've genuinely loved having in Angie's life, and will continue to use for the rest of her life until it no longer is needed. So all that to say, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it was quite a long one, but I hope it was filled with hidden gems that you guys liked and that you guys were able to take some things away. Also, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you guys are interested in more videos talking about inclusion, my experiences with this, and accommodations and adaptations, how it looks, because I have tons of ideas. I just don't know if you guys would be interested in it or not. So if you are, let me know down below, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye!